All right, good evening. It's January 15th, 2019, and this is a meeting of the Shrewsbury Conservation Commission. Our first item is to review and approve minutes. There are no minutes
Any
tonight.
bills? No? No bills.
Second item, sign bills, and there are no bills. The third item is our meetings and hearings. And the first one, you have the notice box right there. Ken Polito's going to recuse himself from this hearing. The first one is a notice, and notice is hereby given in accordance with the revisions of general laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Polito Development Corporation, 587C, Hartford Turnpike, Shrewsbury, has filed a notice of intent to construct a 7,400 square foot addition to an existing industrial building, along with parking, a stormwater detention basin, and other stormwater improvements at 547 Hartford Turnpike. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, January 15, 2019, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room. Good evening.
Good evening. Arthur Allen from Ecotech Incorporated, representing Polito Development, regarding the industrial building addition at 547 Hartford Turnpike. I have certificate.
Oh, right here. Thank you.
And since the plans were filed with this notice of intent, just to update the commission, there was a revision late last week. I emailed it to Brad. I didn't send in paper copies, but here's a paper copy of the revised plan, and I have the revised plan mounted here. The revisions are now dated through January 10th, 2019, and the revisions address comments from Graves Engineering through the planning board. I have a set of the comments and responses.
So these are superseded in their entirety?
Yeah, there's a whole new set. And here's a copy of
Do you have any other copies?
comments and responses.
How many sets do you have for that? There's only one here?
Yeah, I just provided one set, and I have one set mounted. You can,
Okay.
you're certainly welcome to.
Well, why don't you hold it up
use
there?
this one. That's fine. Yeah, the comments, they're basically just revisions to the details, relocating the dumpster. There was something about the trash rack outlet on the stormwater basin. They don't change the layout of the site. The building's in the same location, the stormwater management basin. Everything is the same in terms of what falls within conservation's jurisdiction. It's basically just that Graves has required some revisions, and the only thing that would even remotely pertain to conservation would be the minor changes to the outlet from the stormwater basin. So the proposed addition is 50 feet from the wetland at the closest point. I'll go to the proposed layout plan is probably the best thing. So the bordering vegetated wetlands in blue on two sides of the property, delineated by myself. The 50-foot buffer comes right up to the edge of the proposed addition in orange here. And then between the addition and the wetland is the proposed stormwater basin.
Can you just highlight the existing building it's
So
about
the-
the same size, right?
Yeah, the
building?
existing building sits right
Right in
next
there,
to
yeah.
it. So about doubling the size of the existing building, adding some parking off the back, and the stormwater basin. So, again, limit of work will be around the detention basin, but the proposed addition's 50 feet off the wetland. Pretty straightforward project, strictly buffers and work.
Yeah. In terms of access, I know there's a number of buildings out there and parking lots, so the access to the new addition, I know you got parking spaces shown on the side of the building?
Yep, the new parking is out the kind of the back of the building, I'll say, because the existing access is down along this side. There's parking and loading bays on this side existing. This is all paved and out around the existing building, and then access down on this back side to the new parking for the addition.
And can you talk to the controls for the stormwater?
I mean, I didn't design the
I know it's-
stormwater, obviously, it's gone through Graves and the engineer, but you got a detention basin down on, between the proposed addition and the wetland, with an overflow outlet in the direction of the wetland.
But then there's a swale sediment trap, well, not a trap, but it says swale and sediment forebays on the opposite side near the proposed parking, so there's actually two different elements that are on this plan. I'm gonna let Brad's look at
Right,
the
so they got
plans
some,
ahead
they
of
got some
time.
pipe drainage, obviously.
So why don't we go right to Brad and he can clue us in a little bit?
Okay, so, just to let you know, Art, too, when I saw the revised plan set come in,
Yep.
and I looked at the comments from, or the cover letter from Carl Huffman too, just by reading the letter, I got the impression that it was minor revisions that were Conservation Commission related, so I didn't look too closely for any revisions that might have been done to the drainage system.
Right.
So my comments are based on the original submittal, but it looks to me like the detention pond that's to the west of the proposed addition, it looks like that's only intercepting the roof runoff, and it looks like it's capturing most of the roof from the proposed building.
Okay, yep,
And it's been included in the TSS calcs, but it's not really an area that's collecting, what would be really the concerned area for pollution. And the other thing related to that detention pond, if you're gonna use it for stormwater TSS removal credit, you really need to build that to the standards set forth in the stormwater management policy. And there are things that don't meet that, such as access, for instance. When I looked at the access to it, it shows a proposed, roughly 10-foot wide access to one end of the pond, but once you get there, it doesn't really provide access beyond that. There's a 4-foot wide strip, which would be something that would be normally inadequate for maintaining a detention pond. I think you can get in there and probably mow it as it's needed, but if it were something that was intercepting parking lot runoff, for instance, I'd be asking to revise it, but looking at what it's intercepting, I believe it's just the roof. So I'd be okay with the geometry for that and consider that for treating stormwater quantity, not so much quality.
right.
Which
right.
brings me to the other portion of the design, which shows the additional parking area. And what it's showing is a proposed forebay and a stormwater swale. I didn't see anything that showed me great detail of what that swale and forebay is gonna look like, other than there is one cross-sectional view of the forebay check dam system, and I would consider that really inadequate for a forebay. It's showing a check dam in a settling area that's less than a foot in some spots.
Sure,
Forebays, you typically want 3 feet or more. Even on the proposed maintenance schedule for this system, in the notes on the plan, it says that the sediment should be removed when it accumulates to depths of 3 to 6 feet. Well, you'd never get more than a foot here because that's not how it's designed. I think to really get the 80% TSS removal credit, I'd want to look at something a little bit more robust in terms of a forebay.
sure.
I'd want to see a little bit more detail on that swale, just so I know the overall length, get a good handle of where those check dams are going to actually treat that too.
Right, right.
And a little bit more clarification, how that water is going to get into that system from the parking lot. It does look like there's a low point that's proposed in one area, but should show some spot grades or something additional there that shows we're not gonna have sheet flow, particularly towards the southeastern portion of that parking area that would potentially miss the system.
Okay,
And from what's there, there's really not a large area of a treatment system before it goes into an existing stormwater inlet and then downstream into existing wetlands. So in terms of my comments, I think that's really the only thing I'd want to see, really, what I'm looking for additionally to be addressed is that portion of the system there.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, the engineer couldn't be here tonight, so I'll pass these comments on to him, and I'm sure he'll talk to you and get straightened out with the stormwater details.
I think it's great that, the majority all, but I think it's I think I saw a note that 500 square feet of the building was going towards that forebay. The rest of it's going into that detention pond. I think it's great that you can basically capture a lot of clean water and put it there, but the portion of the parking lot, I just want to see a little bit more effort put into it.
Right. Understood. Okay.
Are you all set, Brad? Okay.
I'm going to commend Brad for his extensive comments, and I have nothing further to add.
Jason?
Neither do I. Thanks, Brad.
I'm just curious, what is proposed treatment for this 2-to-1 slope on the backside of the detention pond near where it approaches very close to that wetland area? I want to make sure, Brad, that that's got appropriate stabilization, specified something like jute netting.
He has an erosion control plan.
Right. Well, you can check on that, you gotta,
Yeah, he's
Just
gonna
check
need
on
to.
that.
address
He's
Brad's
showing loam
comments.
sleep seed on the 2-to-1.
on a 2-to-1, it's probably want to beef that up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, typically you wanna have blankets.
Yeah.
Or something.
That's my only comment.
Okay, I'll make a note.
Does
Thank you.
anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? All right, seeing none, Art, we'll have to continue it.
That's fine.
And our next meeting is February 19th.
219.
Yep.
Same time, same place. Well, maybe not the same place.
No, probably the other one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I know. All right, moving on to our next item, that was our only hearing for the night. We have new and old business and certificates of compliance. Brad, do you have any?
No.
Nothing this month. So we will move on to enforcement orders. Where do you want to start, Brad?
Is anyone here for 12 Commerce Road? Okay. We'll come back to that one then.
Yep.
16 Glengarry Road, I did get an email from the homeowner requesting that he be allowed to come into the February meeting with the Planton plan. I did mention that I don't think the commission would have any issue with that I'd update you at the meeting. If there's anything you want me to tell him at this point, I'd be glad to.
All set.
Yeah,
All right,
so do a
so
lot of planning now.
next one is 784 Grafton Street. I did get contacted by the homeowner today. He said that he has been removing debris from the wetlands. I'll back up a step. From our last meeting, he indicated he did have a wetland scientist go out and begin delineating the wetlands. However, his consultant said he really needed to get some of that debris out there before he could finish that delineation. So I requested that he did that. The update I got was that he had finished removing that debris and that he's going to call the consultant tomorrow to continue with the delineation. I got notified today. I have not gone out to see that the debris's been removed, but that's what I've heard from the property owner.
There's progress, huh?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
There are people here for that, John, I think, if you want to.
For what, the Grafton Street?
Yep.
Do you want to add anything?
Yes, hi. I'm from 782 Grafton Street, and the question I had was, the flagging you said was done by a certified wetland scientist. Do you know the name of that group that he's worked or used with that?
I don't have any information on his consultant.
Okay, because I can see the flagging from my property, and I knew there wasn't two sides. I think I sent you an email saying it looks like one area was flagged, but they never
Right.
did the second area. I think I had sent that to you, saying, you know, what
Yep.
was, so now I understand that question. The other thing I had a question on is the shed that he started to build, it looks like it's in the wetlands. I don't know if you've been out to see
I
that shed.
haven't been out to see it.
Okay, because he had started to build it, there was a picture of it, and I think you said you can't, in the last meeting, stop building it. But according to the flagging, it looks like it is in the wetlands, so does he get asked to remove that, or take it down, or how does that work?
Yeah, it would be a removal, Brad.
Well, that's gonna be up to the commission.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, you'd have to compensate, and I mean, but,
Replication, but you typically want to allow something like that on a limited project criteria.
Once we get the results of the flagging, we'll be able to answer your question as to who did it. And secondly, if there are structures within the wetlands, we'll ask them to remove them.
yeah,
Okay,
he didn't get too far building that structure, right? It was foundation and a couple,
couple of walls.
yeah, oh, that's right, he had the walls after you were telling us about.
My sense is he understood when he was here the likelihood that he'd be removing it if it was
Oh,
there.
Yeah.
That was my sense when he was here.
And then another question is, at that last meeting, the owner had said that he was looking at putting another building in the back, a 20 by 30 foot structure, but when I look at the flagging, and just understanding the area from growing up there, it looks like it traverses his entire property. Now, how would he even access that to build, or access it to use at this point?
To do that, he would have to apply to this board, make a filing to get an order of conditions. So there's a process for that, there are rules that he must abide by.
Okay. And then, so he'll have to file and then go through a notice of intent down that road there. Is there a timeline, or how does that work, or I'm not sure.
Before he starts to build, he would have to come in, so it's up to him what his construction schedule is.
Okay.
Okay, but if you see anything being built and you
Right.
suspect it, you could call Brad and make sure that it's legit.
All right.
And I take it you're gonna be watching to see if, the agenda, to see if there's a filing.
Right, that's what, so I'll just
Okay.
look, and do I look online where Brad posts up the meetings, that's where the
Yep.
filing? All right, I got that. All right, thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank
You're welcome, thanks. Does anyone else have any comments on this particular enforcement order?
Can I just ask one more question?
Sure.
I apologize. Would you actually allow a bridge to go over the wetlands to access that building he thinks he wants to put? I've never heard of such a thing, but I have heard that thrown
Possibility, right,
around.
Brad? You could span it if you didn't impact it.
It's possible.
It's a possibility.
Bridges are expensive.
That's what-
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay, so, moving on to the last one, Brad?
198 South Quinsigamon Avenue. So you may remember, this is the one for that was the tree clearing order of conditions that the commission voted on at the last meeting. And you also may recall that the plan showed specifically which trees were to be removed. So anything that was not shown on the plan would be remain in place. And during discussion with the consultant that was there, that was basically informing the commission that he located anything over 6 inches.
Wasn't the owner also here?
The owner was here too,
Yeah.
yeah. So the plan essentially was to anything 6 inches or under would stay in place.
I don't believe we equivocated at all about that. I think a couple of us asked him about that.
There was a specific, Bob, you specifically
Yeah.
questioned
Yeah.
that and made sure, and I know the engineer specifically said,
Right.
yes, nothing under 6 inches is going to
So,
be cut.
long story short, I took vacation after the last meeting, came back, got set to do the order, but I also got a message before then that the work had already been done. So there's a couple things, the work was done without the order of conditions being issued, and it was also done basically in violating the terms that, was essentially agreed upon when we were here at the meeting. So I did send the enforcement order. I sent the cease and desist, did request that the owner have representation here at tonight to discuss it. I will mention that the order of conditions did not go out. I thought that it was inappropriate at this point. The work had already been done, and the commission may want to condition something different at this point.
So what do you recommend, Brad, beyond?
Well, I would recommend that he provide an updated planting plan for what was removed. I did go out to I know we've had an abutter that was concerned about the amount of tree removal and the erosion possibility. Walking the lot's fairly terraced. Clearly there's been some earthwork there in the past. It's got a good 3 steps going down to the water rather than just a straight 2-to-1 slope, for instance. I don't think there's really a threat of having a landslide or erosion mills or anything there. But what's clear is that anything other than, you know, a couple of small trees at the side property line, it was just completely cut. I'd like to see something down by the bank, you know, even if it's just shrubs rather than trees, but establish something down there to start giving some bank protection. And then anything going up the slope, I'd leave at the discretion of the commission. But there were quite a number of small trees there before.
So procedurally, we closed the hearing.
Yep.
Never issued the order because he went immediately into violation doing work without the order in hand.
Right.
So this proposed landscaping plan moving forward, what would this fall under? Should he file again with a proposed plan now? I mean,
I would say, technically, because there's changes to it, should reopen the public hearing, I think.
Can we?
Sure, it's up to the commission if you want to see a new filing. If you think it's a significant enough change, you can request a new filing. Or the other option, I think, would be to allow him to come in under an amended order.
You've had no communication with him or this consultant or anything like that?
I've had communication with the consultant because I sent the enforcement order. I hadn't gotten the receipt back in a while, so I did reach out to the consultant just to make sure they've got it, they're aware of the
Oh, I thought you said you hadn't sent the enforcement order.
No, I sent the enforcement order, not the order of conditions.
Oh, all right,
Yeah.
okay.
So I did hear from the consultant yesterday morning, who said that he got a hold of the owner. The owner had been sick, but indicated that the owner would be here.
And he's fine.
Right, is anyone here for this?
No.
No, okay.
so he's not here, so what are we gonna do at this point? Obviously, he's not gonna do anything until he comes in and decides which option he's gonna pursue, whether it's gonna be a new filing or request for an amended order.
What does the order say? Just cease and desist?
The enforcement order?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Cease and desist and come into tonight's meeting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, the work was all done. I didn't think there was a threat of him going out and building something there. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
So how do we decide which of these two options to go? Do we want to make the choice ourselves without his input?
Well, that is, I would think, is typically a commission choice anyway.
All right.
You know, amended orders are for minor changes, new filings are for something if you feel it's significant.
The initial.
I don't think we should issue the order of conditions.
Oh, yeah, no, not to
All right,
go.
so-
That's changed,
So,
obviously.
what is the status then? Do we have the right not to issue it, having voted to do so?
Well, here's whether you have the right not to or not, probably a little bit of a gray area for me. Here's how I look at it. The commission is supposed to issue an order of conditions within 21 days of the close of the public hearing. The recourse of the applicant, when the commission doesn't do that, is to file an appeal to DEP requesting a superseding order.
Okay.
My thought on this one is, since that's the only recourse of the applicant, and he's in violation,
Yeah.
there's really no urgency for us to get that up.
Okay.
plus the site has been altered. I mean, since we,
Right.
you know, so he really, to issue the order would be fruitless. I mean, it's an altered site from what we saw.
So, and of course, and there's nothing on the deed, so we have no leverage there. So all we can do is essentially plead for him to submit to us a remediation plan.
Right.
What was his final work, in besides taking those trees down? Was he gonna do any
Was it?
landscaping?
No,
No, nothing.
No.
Did he do any stump work?
The stumps are there.
Okay. Well, I think at the very least, we should ask him for a
Yeah,
remediation plan, right?
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if we didn't get it, I wouldn't hesitate to refer it to the state, you know, to just say, hey, they have enforcement capabilities, and it was in violation.
I think,
But let's hope he, you know,
it seems to me, you should write it, there should be a letter written
You said
describing that
that,
what he did was without an order.
you know,
right, you said that we have no recourse because there's nothing on the deed, and
Well, I
yet
mean,
we,
it's just, sometimes that gives you leverage if someone wants a certificate of compliance.
right, but we discussed and decided on an order of conditions
Yeah.
in which he was in violation of, although he hadn't yet received it. So does that not leave some sort of a legal trail that would provide some leverage for him,
Yeah, why not,
against him?
why not issue and record the order of conditions?
Do we
He's
record
in-
the,
We
no,
don't
they
record
do
it,
it.
yeah.
Well, we've issued one.
Yeah, but we don't do the recording.
Well, we haven't issued this one, just,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
Okay.
this
you're,
one hasn't been issued.
but you're issuing an order of conditions that has no chance of being adhered to. I mean, right,
Correct.
I
And
mean,
that will never be recorded. So why issue it, you know?
Well, what would be his reason for coming back in and filing a remediation plan with us?
Exactly.
Yeah.
the only thing would be the threat of further enforcement.
Yeah.
So, obviously, this commission doesn't have the ability to penalize, but
Yeah.
DEP certainly does.
So maybe like what Bob was saying, send him a letter saying, you got an enforcement order. If we strongly urge you to attend our next meeting with some sort of a plan. And then if he doesn't attend, you may have to refer it to the DEP. I don't know.
Yeah,
Something like that.
we could easily say
That's
failure
what I would-
to,
Or
failure
copy DEP on the
to,
letter.
to abide,
yeah.
failure to respond positively, will require that we refer to the DEP for further enforcement. What else do we have?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Whether or not the DEP would think this substantial enough to pick
Yeah,
up the
it's
flag, I don't know.
still, it shouldn't have been done.
No, of course not.
You know, I would love to know why it was done that way after,
Well, it could be something as simple as a contract that gone amok.
you know.
Well, I can look into that too.
Huh?
I can look into that too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You know who did it, or can
I
you
do
find
know who
it?
did it, yeah.
Huh?
I do
Oh.
know who did it.
Oh, all
At
right.
least the abutter told me who did it.
Oh,
so
good,
I
yeah, look
imagine
into that, that'd be very interesting to know.
Okay, so the letter is the way to go with,
Well, I just think a letter is, explains it better.
yeah,
than
and
a-
plus
than a
it
form.
requests them to
Yeah.
attend the next
It
hearing.
explains it better than a form.
Yeah.
And it's an official action,
Yeah.
which he might take more seriously.
All right, Brad?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, do you want to tell us about 12 Commerce?
12 Commerce, we did send the enforcement order out for that, specifically requiring that there would be no discharge coming from that wash bay because the design plan did show a overflow pipe going into that detention pond that was never permitted by the commission. So they were going forward with the wash bay. I think we were under the consensus that it would be an improvement to what was happening out there. But the concern again was anything discharging from that getting released somewhere. Because I can't remember if I had talked to the commission about this, but I did determine from speaking to the manager there that it wasn't simply sedimentation cleaning from construction forms like we were initially led to believe. that there was gonna be detergents, there was gonna be other things.
Oils,
Right,
grease.
Yep. And the other part of the enforcement order required them to come in tonight and give us an update.
And
And I
Have you
haven't
heard?
anything, nope. And that enforcement order was received by them on January 2nd.
Okay. So if we don't hear from them within the next month, what do we?
Well, I would send it to DEP. I mean, this particular one bothers me because you have seasoned people involved with the project from the beginning. There's
Yeah.
really no reason that wetland was missed. The wetland shows up on GIS.
Yeah.
It's there. I mean,
Why-
you don't
why-
even have
why-
to walk the site to,
why should we, wait, why don't we refer it right away?
okay.
Was there, nobody called you since January 2?
Nope.
Just-
I'd
Yeah,
send it.
is everybody in agreement?
Yes.
Send it. I agree with you. There's a commercial building, it's a different standard.
Is there anything else, Brad? I think that's it on the agenda, right?
Right.
I don't know, this is going the wrong way, Brett. One public hearing and 4 enforcement orders.
It's a bigger and bigger part of our agenda. Have you noticed that lately?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Someone want to make a motion?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
Second?
Aye.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.